Thank you. Representative Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and welcome, Chairman Bernanke. I want to make a brief comment, and then I want to ask a question about the IMF. My brief comment is a comment about the answer you gave Mr. Brady about monetizing debt. Because your balance sheet remains relatively stable with Treasury bills, it doesn't mean that the Fed can't monetize debt. You mentioned in your statement that you bought securities, mortgage-backed securities and agency debt, and that's over $1.3 trillion. Well, where did you get the money? You created this money. So you did monetize debt. That went into the banking system. The banking system can buy Treasury bills, and they can borrow money at 0%, and that's why they're making a lot of money right now, because they can buy other debt and make a little bit more, and it looks magic except for the mortgage holder, the people who are losing their mortgages and losing their houses right now. But one other quick question is the 1,000 examiners that you're training, are any of those new, or are these people already on the payroll?
On the payroll, and they include both Federal Reserve and state examiners.
Okay, because my comment there is probably 10,000 won't do much good, because it isn't a lack of examination if you don't deal with the problem, and the problem really comes from a monetary policy of low interest rates. As long as low interest rates rigs the market and gives bad information to the investor, all the examiners in the world can't compensate for this. And this whole idea that capital can come from a printing press rather than savings, I still have a terrible time trying to understand how an economy can thrive on that, because it rejects every notion of free market capitalism. But the question I have on the IMF is, this week the IMF has announced that they're going to open up that new arrangement to borrow or expand it. There's a commitment of $50 billion there now. It's going to go up to about 560. And it coincides, you know, with the crisis going on in Greece and Europe, and how they're going to be bailed out. The irony of this promise is that in the new arrangement, this increase, Greece is going to put $2.5 billion in there. I think that's only a fiat monetary system worldwide can come up and have Greece help bail out Greece, and be prepared to bail out even other countries. But we're going to go from 50 up, no, we're going from 10 up to 105. So that's $105 billion we're going to commit to bailing out the. But I think this does two things. I want to get your comments on this. One, why does it coincide with Greece? What are they anticipating? Why do they need $560 billion? Do we have a lot more trouble? And when it comes to that time where we have to make this commitment, who pays for this? Where does it come from? Will this all come out of the printing press once again, and we are expected to bail out the world? Are you in favor of this increase in the IMF funding and our additional commitment to $105 billion?
Well, the source of this was going back in the G20 meetings in the crisis, and I think one of the agreements that the G20 leaders came up with was sort of a mutual commitment to put more money into the IMF as a way of addressing the financial crisis around the world, and that's why it happened. The Federal Reserve wasn't involved in those meetings, so that was before Greece. If money is put out to any country, it'll be done first of all with specific approval from the executive board, which includes, of course, the U.S. in a veto position, and with conditionality, that is, the country has to meet certain conditions. So it's the G20 leadership apparently has agreed that this is a way to provide credit to avoid fiscal or exchange rate crises in countries around the world.
Yeah, but do you think this is a good idea? You agree with that we should make this commitment?
I think in general that having the IMF available to try to avoid crises is a good idea, yes.
Again, where will the money come from? This is our problem in this country. We're bankrupt too. And also along this line, do you feel like, you know, you go along with this commitment, what are we going to do when a state gets under the gun, like California and others? I mean, they're approaching the state that Greece is in. I mean, we can't turn down California. I mean, if we can bail out all these banks and they get off the hook, and now they're making billions, and their executive officers are cleaning up. Do you think we would ever turn down California or any other state that gets in the same situation?
Well, that's Congress's decision. If you
Well, you bailed out a lot of people from the IMF. You know, you have the capability of buying up some debt and doing all these kind of things. We can't even audit you to find out what you do. So you can do anything you want. You can create as much money as you want. So
you can see any transaction or loan we make. We're happy to provide that information to you. And we're not involved with lending to the IMF. The IMF is a separate institution which has American executives, part of the executive.
But where would the money come from?
It would come. It's a loan, but it would come from the U.S.
Eventually,
government.
we would create out of thin air.
Well, it's a loan.
Because we don't have
if
any
it's
money.
not paid back, then we would take our share of the loss.
I yield back.
Okay. Thank you. Congressman Snyder.